Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. As you may have seen, I've posted 2 main news videos here on the channel already today, and now I'm starting to run out of time. But there is some major news going on with Steam that I did want to talk about, albeit briefly. As only about 1 hour ago, Valve has issued an official response to the New York Attorney General. Here's the context, and it actually begins recently on February 25th, where New York Attorney General Letitia James launched a lawsuit against Valve in state court, claiming that loot boxes from games like CS2 and TF2 are illegal under New York law due to alleged gambling elements. Letitia wants to ban these features from Steam and enact monetary penalties on Valve. Furthermore, Letitia went on to accuse Valve of glorifying violence and promoting a dangerous culture of gun violence over the games available on Steam. That takes us to the breaking news today from only an hour ago, where Valve has officially responded, essentially arguing that no violations of New York law has actually occurred. Valve went on to mention that they've actually been educating the New York Attorney General on this topic since 2023, and now Valve is very disappointed to see this lawsuit being launched against them. Bolstering their argument, Valve says that these systems are more akin to trading than gambling, and that Valve themselves has taken action against third-party gambling abuse. Furthermore, going on to tackle the claims against them about supporting real-world violence, Valve countering this, saying that it's a, quote, extraneous distraction and mischaracterization that we've all heard before, unquote, even going on to cite studies that show no actual link between media and real-world violence. So that's a TLDR of the New York lawsuit, but now some additional context on the broader macro situation, as there's recently been a barrage of suits launched against Valve. For example, the UK lawsuit from Vicky Shotbolt, a UK activist with ties to the infamous Ofcom, who's still trying to roll out the disgraced Online Safety Act. That's one I covered in its own full segment last month. You may recall that if you saw it. But wait, there's more, as just this month another lawsuit was launched against Valve by the Performing Rights Society over music licensing, where PRS claims that Valve needs its own license to distribute games containing PRS-represented music, even if developers already licensed that music. They're now seeking payments from Valve going as far back as 2003. As you probably know, music corporations already have a terrible reputation for their history of immense greed, and this is certainly not helping their image. Lastly, there's another recent lawsuit where last month, Valve won a lawsuit against Leigh Rothschild, where Leigh went after Valve for alleged patent disputes. However, Valve responded by accusing Leigh of essentially being a patent troll and ultimately taking that victory. Now, as for Leigh Rothschild himself, he does apparently have a pre-established reputation of being a patent troll. His last name is also cause for speculation, some people saying he's a part of the Rothschild family, others saying he isn't. Well, that's something you'll have to look more into on your own if you're curious. Finally, I'll mention how a few weeks ago I covered news where activist outlet The Guardian also wrote up a hit piece against Valve, accusing them of harboring bigotry, essentially due to how Valve allows free speech on the Steam forums, something the activists over at The Guardian really don't like. So yeah, many gamers do see Valve as one of the last pro-consumer corporations left in the gaming space, and yet many forces seem to be doing their best to damage the company, this ramping up even more recently. It sure is quite suspicious, isn't it? But that is a TLDR of the news as mentioned. That's really all the time I have to go over this stuff, but to be fair, that's all the main stuff anyways. Of course, if you want more of the nitty-gritty details, as they say, that's also out there. I bet there's a lot of people doing great coverage of that, but as mentioned, that's where I'll leave this one. Let me know what you think about the latest. Thank you guys for tuning in, and I'll catch you next time.